Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Full Potential Show. I'm James Rick. This is your number one non-boring source for personal development. And today on the line, we have Fay McLean. She is a business designer and the Aussie business coach. Today, we're going to talk about how to design your life and design your business around your life instead of the other way around. Fay is an NLP master practitioner. She's a wellness consultant. She's been selected as one of the 55 entrepreneurial women from all over the world as a contributing author to The Law of Attraction in Action. She has qualifications as a master coach, business performance consultant, certified in presentation skills. She's done a lot, including she's an avid athlete and she's run some grueling and demanding half Ironman. And this is an Iron Woman here, okay? Fay, thank you so much for being on today's Full Potential Show.
Hi, James. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm really excited and very, very pleased to meet you and be spending this time with you and the people watching this show today.
Well, we are as well, and we know it's the morning there in Australia. Where at in Australia are you?
I'm actually down on the west coast, on the very low bottom tip of the west coast of Western Australia. So it's a beautiful patch of the world. I look out across the Southern Ocean. We see the whales out there playing and the ships coming into port, but it's a beautiful patch, although maybe a couple of degrees colder than what I would ideally like it.
Well, how nice. I'm in Portland, Oregon right now, and I look out across a sea of city buildings. All right, so let's dive in and let's talk about how you can design your life and design your business around it, because it's such an important concept. First of all, let's back up. Let's talk about the story behind the story. What inspired you to be passionate about this and start helping people to design their business in a way that is more conforming to the lifestyle they want?
Well, yeah, we do have to back up a little bit, James, because I think what happens for so many of us is that we end up being able to help other people with something that is completely intuitive to our own skills. And I guess that's where it started for me. I've been in business for over 25 years, since my very early 20s. And at that time, I was married, still married to the same man, I must say. Married, we were on a farming property. You know, we had lots of assets, but no money, and lived a very happy but frugal lifestyle. And, it just came naturally to me, having grown up with parents in business, to head on out and do something that I wanted to do. So at that time, I was actually about 25 kilos overweight, desperately needed to lose weight, and there was no support resources around in the small area we lived. So I went about and set up a support group for other people who were in the same situation as myself. And of course, it also helped me to get on top of my health and weight issues. And that was my first business, was helping people in the health and wellness industry. So I then went on to teaching aerobics, teaching health and wellness in greater detail. But I didn't realize at the time that every time I established these businesses, not only was it meeting a need, but I was designing these businesses around what we needed it to be like for our family, so that I still was able to do the things that were important to us, so that I had the flexibility to be with our children, to help my husband, and yet it gave us the extra income that we were looking for at the time, as well as, of course, doing something that I enjoyed. So I kind of progressed from there and opened up a couple of other businesses along the way. And then we moved town. We actually sold that farming property, made a big decision, again, based around what we wanted our life to be like. And the sale of that and moving towns was a big move for us as a family. So I got tempted back into the corporate world and worked in executive management for about 7 years, and totally loved what I did, and then kind of realized, hang on, I don't have time to go for a haircut. I don't have time to do the workouts that I wanted to do. I was not having, it wasn't suiting my lifestyle. Although I loved the job, the income was great. So again, I had to say, hang on, I've got control over this, and decided to go back into business for myself.
And that's what I was waiting for, Faye. I was waiting to hear about the time that the business got out of control, because that's when we realize how important it is to be in control of how we design this to conform to our lifestyle. So, going back, I understand
absolutely.
that at first you kind of had this intuition about it. You just kind of did that naturally. For example, you were overweight. You got into this business where you not only got out of being overweight, but you helped others to do it, and you did what was necessary for your lifestyle and still to serve your customers' needs at the time. And then it got a little out of control with this working at the corporation. Long story short, you recognized once again how important it is to set boundaries on how much you're going to let this business or this financial vehicle encroach in on your life. And unless you're in survival mode, you have the luxury to start setting those boundaries. And in fact, even if you are in survival mode, one of the ways to get out of it is something you mentioned you did earlier, which is live more frugally. And that frees you from the obligation of having these expenses you have to meet every month. So
it's a good point,
yeah,
James. I think there is a big difference too between living frugally and living through lack.
Mm-hmm.
They're two different concepts. I believe, money. There is so much money in the world and so many opportunities for people to make more money. It's simply, if there's no lack of money, people only have a lack of ideas. However, when push comes to shove, it is important, as a family, and it's something I got taught as a teenager. We've accounted for every cent that we spend, whether it's, coffees, holidays, now when we slip the kids $50 for fuel in the car when they head back home. I know where all my money goes. So if there's a time where we need to, do have some constraints, I can look at what I'm prepared to cut back on, what I'm not prepared to cut back on, or even to simply be aware of where the money is coming in and where the money is going out. And I think that is a big thing that so many people don't keep track of, because I know exactly how much it costs us to live a lifestyle that we want, and I know how much money I need to have coming in to make that happen.
Now, a lot of people listening to this would say, oh, that sounds so difficult. Like, why would I want to track all those things? But you do it because you can't manage what you don't measure, right?
Yeah, look, if what you're not focusing on, doesn't happen. So to focus on the money means focusing on where it's coming in and where it's going out. And that simply gives you control over, what it is that you can create. And as I said, I believe we can all create more money. So if you find that, the expenses are stacking up, whilst I do believe in cutting back and, maybe looking at what doesn't need to be money to be spent on, I also believe that a great mindset is to understand that every one of us are powerful enough to go out and create more money. So if you find that ledger is not balancing and there's more red on there than black, or you're not having the funds to do things you want, the lack mentality is to completely go without everything. The power mentality, the abundance mentality is to say, do you know what, every one of us is powerful enough to create more money in our lives. And you just then need to go out and find out the ways that you're going to do that.
And until you do, it's a good idea to be frugal, though, too, right? I mean, some people think I'm going, and this is a good topic for you to comment on because you're in the Law of Attraction and Action book. Some people say, oh, have an abundance mindset. And that means spend money that you don't have, because that will set the tone for the universe to believe that more money's coming to you, and so it will. But personally, I think it's nuts. I think if you have this abundance mentality that says I should spend more now, you're not going to have any in a very short order because you haven't created the cash flow. So I'm being very practical about it. I'd like to hear your view on it.
Yeah, you're right, James. Cash flow is incredibly important, and any business that is struggling is only struggling because of cash flow, and that's why I believe we need to track where we are spending our money, because you've got to know where it's being spent so that you can, reduce those unnecessary expenses. I'm constantly looking, even though we're multimillionaires, but I still track down and say, hey, how much was my electricity this month? And, let's turn the lights off where they're not needed. And, that sort of thing, because I don't believe in spending money you don't have simply for an air of abundance. And I do believe in looking at what are the essentials that you need to have. And, sometimes you can get joy from a lot of great things that don't need a lot of big expense attached to them. So simply being aware, how many times I'd say for a lady, it's a purse, a man, a wallet, in the days where we had cash and we would put $100 into our purse or wallet, and at the end of 3 days go, oh my gosh, where did that go? And you just can't remember where you spent the money. Whereas I have always been able to track where that money went to so that I know, I'm just aware of it. And of course, that situation gets even worse for people now. And this is why there is so much credit debt, because people are spending on cards without even thinking about where it's going.
Henry David Thoreau said that man is richest whose pleasures are the cheapest. And I think it rings true for you, Fay, like it does for me. I mean, there's so much joy that we can get out of the things that we don't even need to spend money for. And in this frugal mindset or lifestyle that you're talking about, it's not coming from a place of lack. And this is really important to get to, listening and watching this right now, folks, because when you are frugal, you actually give yourself a lot of freedom to spend money. But what you're doing is, and this is what I've done, Fay, and you can comment on this, I've identified in my business and in my personal life the expenses that are usually fixed on a regular basis, meaning month after month I'm going to pay them, and I found a way to knock most of those out. And you don't usually get much joy or satisfaction from them anyway, and paying more on car insurance or paying more for a car payment or a house payment or something like that, you usually don't get like a big jolt of joy when you spend that money. I know I don't. So I've cut those things out, and the place where I do maximize my lifestyle is usually on these one-time expenses. Like we just went on a retreat recently in this raw food retreat and resort, and great food. And it's a one-time thing because I built up a surplus of money for that and for all the other little adventures that I go on. But I built the surplus up first, so I'm not running from credit card or house payments, and those expenses aren't accruing while I'm out trying to have a good time. What I hear you saying, Fay, is that one of the key components to designing the life you want is to not be under the burden of debt or these ongoing expenses, but to try to get everything down as low cost as possible. Is that what you're saying?
For sure, absolutely. We did a similar thing. We booked a summer retreat that's coming up in a few months' time, and we spent a little bit of time, having somebody help us to, look at what was the best rates we could get. And I think, creating your own wealth is about being wise. And this is, I think, what it is, as opposed to maybe even using the word frugal, but being wise about where every dollar is spent. I don't see any point in paying, more than what you have to get what it is you want. So a few phone calls to shop around for the best price. The internet, of course, gives us a great opportunity to find great deals, whether it be on holidays, on accommodation.
Yes.
That's being smart. It's not living in lack. It's not even being frugal, it's being smart. And then you have, there's the money left over to do the fun things. I think something we may have heard from our parents perhaps is, look after the cents and the dollars will take care of themselves. And I think that's so true. So taking care of those little things can leave you much more left over to be able to go out and have fun, maybe to give to other people who don't have as much as you, or, to make the choices that you want to have in life.
It can seem like such a small thing, but even Benjamin Franklin said, many a fickle make a mickle, and I guess by mickle he meant a lot. And that's really the key idea here. You don't want to feel like you have this financial pressure bearing down on you all the time that obligates you to do the things that you don't want to do with your time. And this is really where designing your life and designing your business around your life comes in. Because if you've gotten your overhead down in both your personal life and your business life, you've just automatically made it so you only require so much cash flow to take care of your basic survival needs, and everything else is surplus. And that surplus is what turns into wealth. It's what turns into financial freedom to have extraordinary experiences. And it sounds to me, Fay, like that's exactly the kind of strategy that you've employed by being frugal. There is no lack in being frugal, and there's always ways to negotiate things, isn't there, Fay? There's always a way to get that cost down.
There is. I have to say, I don't go well on the negotiation stuff. I leave that to my husband. But there is, when we don't have the pressure, the incredible pressure that financial stress can place on us, it allows us to be creative, to maybe take an opportunity when we see it. And that, I think, is a big thing. When you have that financial stress, then we tend to stay doing things we don't enjoy doing simply because there's money coming in from it. We tend to, not take up opportunities in case it doesn't work out, and we can't afford the financial fall down that might have as a consequence. So understanding what that basic need is from a financial point of view, and then being free to try something creative, to do something that you enjoy, that you love, allows you, to create the wealth. And of course, there is a difference between good debt and bad debt as well. And I think, that needs to be mentioned in here too, that, in order to create and, wealth creation then moving forward is often, incurs some good debt, but managed well, that's okay.
Yeah, and I think we need to, there's just not enough time to go through all the points, but we need to reiterate some of the key ideas here, and then I want to get your thoughts on any final points before we wrap up and tell people where to get a free report on how to get more clients, make more money, and have more sales. In fact, 7 ways to do those things. So to reiterate what we've talked about here today, it's that number one, you come from that mindset of a power mentality and you operate in a very frugal manner. And I like to say it's maximize lifestyle at the least possible cost. So it's not about lack. It's not about bringing your standard of living down. It's about maximizing that lifestyle at the least possible cost. And if you don't have a husband like Fay does, you're going to need to learn how to negotiate very well to be able to bring your costs down in whatever it is that you're trying to do. I think also, real quick, a recognition of fixed costs over one-time expenses. That's the killer, right, Fay? The fixed costs. If you don't bring that overhead down, your cash flow is going out and you're going to feel that pressure that causes you to make decisions that aren't generally the decisions you would make unless you felt pressure and fear and you were operating out of survival mode. So I think those are some of the keys to start with. And then from there, one final point I want to make before I turn it over to you, Fay, and see what final ideas you have before we wrap up. I think a big reason why people carry a big, massive overhead they don't need to, especially on a personal level, is because of the ego. a big house, a big car, expensive clothes, money that you don't have going into things that you don't need because of the show and the status and the persona of those things. That is what I think is one of the biggest overheads that people have to get out of their mind. They don't need to show off. They don't need to keep up with their neighbors. They should do the things and invest in the things that are intrinsically rewarding. They're not only going to get much more satisfaction out of it, but they're going to not compete in the rat race where you're still a rat at the end of the race. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, actually, James, one of the points that I wanted to make sure we covered today was the fact that I think it's really important for people to run their own race. And, you know, whilst it's great for us to model others and to look to others for direction and for what's worked, it's really important for everybody to understand that they are unique, they are powerful within themselves, each and every one of us, and that you want to decide what it is that's important to you as a person and just go with that and put blinkers on as to what's happening in the outside world. You know, I mean, our neighbours would never ever pick us as being the millionaire next door, and yet that's what we are, because we don't feel the need to, you know, live an exuberant lifestyle, because we have the things that matter to us. We've invested a lot of our money into ongoing wealth creation. We've invested a lot of our money into our own self-education so we can continue to help others grow. But most importantly, understanding that, you know, we are individuals, and where each and every individual wants their life to go, it is possible if you just, you know, move forward and run your own race.
Run your own race. Run your own race. Try to say that 10 times fast. But run your own race. And yes, what you said, some of the wisest investments you can make, nobody's going to even see them except for maybe you and a loved one closest to you. But those are the wisest financial investments that you can make, and you'll only make them if you are running your own race. Fay McLean, you can learn more at the AussieBusinessCoach.com. And Fay, I know we've got a little special offering for everybody who's stuck with us and heard your words of wisdom here today. Where can they pick up 7 ways to get more clients, make more money, and have more sales?
Sure. If they would like to go to www.theaussiebusinesscoach, and that's AUSSIE businesscoach.com/James Rick, and we will have a special gift there for each and every person that pops on over there after they've heard this interview.
Beautiful. And that's James Rick, not Rick James. James Rick, the AussieBusinessCoach.com/James Rick. She's got a gift waiting for you there. 7 ways to get more clients, make more money, and have more sales. Today was about running your own race and really designing the kind of life you want to live, not the kind of life that's being forced or pressured or programmed upon you. Fay McLean, the AussieBusinessCoach.com. Fay, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you so much. It's been fantastic talking to you, and I look forward to spending some more time with you again.
Thank you, Fay. I do. We may be moving out to Australia here in the next year or so. So when we do, we might be your neighbor. When you look out to see the whales, you're gonna see us out there swimming with the whales.
That sounds great. Just make sure you bring your wetsuit.
Yeah, I will. All right, Fay. Everybody go to theaussiebusinesscoach.com. Learn more about Fay McLean there and pick up that gift. It is something you're going to want to have in your library. theaussiebusinesscoach.com/James Rick. And be sure to comment on this video. I'm going to start encouraging everybody to start commenting and sharing your thoughts. I really want these shows to be a community. Fay wants to know what your thoughts are. I want to know what your thoughts are, and we will respond to them. So be sure to comment on this video and like it if you really like it. Fay, thank you again for being on the show. Take care. Well, that concludes this week's episode of The Full Potential Show, your #1 non-boring source for personal development. I'm James Rick, and if you want to get more positive programming for your brain absolutely free on a weekly basis, just visit fullpotential.com.
If you like the Full Potential Show, you're going to love the Full Potential Club. What would you like most as a Full Potential Club member? Be 2 to 3 times more productive? Do what you're passionate about? Have more energy? Reduce your work hours? Travel the world? Enjoy an amazing lifestyle on a frugal budget? What if you could do them all? James Rick has been there and done it in ways that few people have. For anyone serious about taking their life or business to the next level, you know you've got to do more than just watch. You've got to do. Join James Rick and other like-minded people for an incredible $10 a month at fullpotential.com/club. Be educated. Be empowered. Be the best version of you. fullpotential.com/club. Try it free for 30 days.